Good afternoon, grade 12 learners. Welcome to another exciting session of mathematical literacy. My name is Nikki Wezulu, and I'm going to be your math lead teacher for today. This lesson is brought to you by the Gauteng Department of Education in collaboration with Saibono Discovery Center. Girls and boys, today's focus is going to be on the section of finance. I can't believe that we are already here doing revision. Seems like just yesterday when we were starting the year doing the first topic, financial documents, and then look at us today doing revision as we are counting down to our prelim exams. So under finance, our main focus now under finance for today, because we don't have enough time to do the entire topic of finance, we are going to focus on the section of income, expenditure, selling price, cost price, profit, loss, and the break-even analysis. The objectives of this lesson, before we can do the objectives, remember in MathLit, these are our main topics in MathLit. We are working with finance, we've got data handling, measurement, maps and plans, and probability. And then we know for our paper one, we've got finance, data handling, and probability. Whereas for paper 2, there's measurement, there's maps and plans. Probability is also included in our paper 2. By the end of this lesson, we should have looked into the terminology that is used in the section of income, expenditure, profit, loss, selling price, cost price, and the break-even analysis. And then lastly, we are also going to work with the possible exam questions. Like I said, that the main purpose of today's session is to revise as we are counting down towards our prelim examination. Now, the terminology that we are going to come across, I want us to start first with the income. What is income? income is the money that you receive, the money that comes to you. Now, in your context, the money that your parents gives you for pocket money when you go to school, that is your income. For myself as a teacher, I'm working. At the end of the month, I get paid by my employer, which is the Department of Education. That money that I receive at the end of the month, that is my income. And then when we talk about expenses, it is the money that you spend. Your parents give you money, your income for pocket money, and then you go and buy lunch. So you are going to spend that money. With me, I get my salary, that is my income, and then I want to go and buy clothes, I want to go and buy food, I want to go and pay school fees. All those items that I have to pay, those are my expenses. And then under expenses, guys, we've got actually 3 types of expenses, even though here I've only mentioned 2. The first one is a fixed expense. What is a fixed expense? Fixed expenses are those expenses that stay the same. They don't change. If you are paying school fees at your school, when there's a certain amount of money that your parents are expected to pay every month. Let's say your school fees was 450. It means every month your parents can budget that 450 because it is that expense that stays the same, doesn't change. And then we've got what we call variable expenses. With variable expenses, they fluctuate. This month they are higher, next month they are lower, or the other month they are even lower. An example of that, it is the money that I spend for my petrol. On a monthly, every day when I go to work, I use my car, meaning that I need to spend on petrol. So the amount of money that I spend this month on petrol will never be the same amount of money that I spent the previous month on petrol because of a lot of reasons. One reason could be the petrol prices that are going up and down. And then secondly, I might not have traveled the same amount of distance in month 1 as compared to month 2. Another practical example that you guys can relate to, it is the issue of groceries. The amount of money that your parents spend on groceries for this month will never be the same amount that they are going to spend on groceries next month or that they've spent the previous month. You might find that maybe last month they bought items in bulk. So for this month, they don't have to buy everything. Some items are still there and that are enough to last for the month. So fixed expenses, they stay the same. Variable expenses, they fluctuate. It's up and down. Sometimes it can be high, sometimes it can be low. So variable expenses are those expenses that don't stay the same. And then another one that is not included here is occasional expense. Occasional, it is self-explanatory. It means those are the expenses that occur once in a while. For example, if my car was to break now, it means I need to fix the car. And for me to fix the car, I need to spend money. But it is something that happens once in a while. My car is not going to break every month. That every month I know that I need to fix the car. Otherwise, there's a problem. It means I must sell this car. It's not serving its purpose anymore because now I'm spending every month on fixing the car. So an occasional expense is that type of expense that happens once in a while. Another example of an occasional expense, it is when you have a burst geyser. If the geyser has burst in the house, it is an emergency, it needs to be attended to, and it needs money because you need to buy for the parts, the new parts that are needed. You must also pay the person that will come and fix the geyser. But is the geyser going to burst every month? No, it is something that happens once upon a time. It once in a while. So girls and boys, you must make sure that you know this. You know the difference between the fixed expense, the variable expense, and the occasional expense. And I said the same with income. We do have fixed income. With fixed income, it is the type of income that stays the same all throughout. It doesn't change. Perfect example, my salary. I am working for the Department of Education as a teacher. Every month, if my contract said that I'm earning 20,000 a month, every month without a fail, I will get my 20,000. So that type of income that stays the same, doesn't change, is not affected by anything. It's a perfect example of a fixed income. And then we also have a variable income. Variable income, it is that income that does not stay the same. It changes. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. Perfect example, somebody that is running a business. Let's say there's a lady that is selling muffins at your school. The amount of money that she makes in a month does not stay the same because she's depending on the people that are buying. Just because she makes 100 muffins, it doesn't mean that people will buy all the 100 muffins. Sometimes, yes, people will finish them. Sometimes people can buy half. Sometimes people won't even buy it all. So the money that she gets for her business, it fluctuates. This month it might be good. Next month it might not be that good. Especially the people that are selling fed cakes. When it's around winter time, business is booming. There's more money that's coming in. But now that we're approaching summer days, then the business becomes a bit slow. It means the income now that this person was receiving is no longer as much as the income that they were receiving during the winter time, simply because it's hot and some people are now starting to take care of their bodies. They want to look slimmer, so it's not a good idea for them to still be indulging in fed cakes, whereas summer is just around the corner. So that is an example of a variable expense. I said a fixed expense example, it's a salary. And then income, a variable income example, I said it's what? It is somebody that is running a business. Or maybe I can even use commission. I think commission is a perfect example. When I'm talking about commission, guys, normally we have people that are selling products. The most common one that I think all of us might understand here, it is Avon. Avon is a beauty company, so it has distributors, people that are selling Avon. Even myself, I could be selling Avon to my colleagues. So I get paid by Avon depending on the number of products that I have sold. The more products I sell, the more money I will get. But if I didn't sell enough for a particular time, then the money that I'm going to get is also not going to be enough. That is the meaning of what? Of commission. You are paid depending on the number of products that you have sold. If you don't sell anything, you are not getting anything. And then we also have occasional income. Occasional income, self-explanatory. It happens once in a while. Is that income that you get once in a while? A perfect example of this is inheritance. Let's say your grandmother was very rich and then she left you a lump sum of money. So your grandmother is not going to leave you money every month. It's something that happens once in a while. So that kind of income is called what is called occasional income. Or if you are studying, you are at a tertiary institution, and then you become lucky, you worked hard, you get lucky, you get a bursary. That amount of money that you are going to get from the bursary company, that is your occasional income. It is the income that you got, but you got it after a while. So those are the difference between income and expenses. And then guys, make sure that you know your income, your expenses, your fixed income, fixed expense, variable, and occasional. Because what can happen in the exam, the examiner can give you an income and expenditure statement and then require you to identify the fixed expense from the statement, or they can ask you to identify the variable income from the statement. So that question, it mustn't find you dizzy. It must find you ready, because lucky for you, we've discussed this today. And then after that, I want us to look at what? At your profit. What is your profit? The profit, it is the extra money left when your income minus your expense. So the answer that you get would be your profit. But depending if this answer is positive. So if you take your income, you subtract your expenses, then the answer that you get, if it is positive, then that is your profit. If you take your income, you subtract your expenses, and you get a negative answer, then it means you are not making any profit, but you are running at a loss, or you are running at a deficit. So income minus expense, the positive answer is profit. Income minus expense, negative answer is loss or a deficit. And then we've got what we call the break-even analysis. When we do the break-even analysis, our main point that we are looking for the break-even point. I'm going to try and draw here. I want to draw a graph here. Sorry about the untidiness. So you'll be having two graphs. The one graph will be moving like this, and then the other graph will be moving like this. And the graphs will be labeled graph A, graph B. And then here we'll be having 0. Let's say here it would be 200. Yeah, this would be the number of items. When we talk about a break-even point, we are talking about this point where the two graphs meet. And how would you explain that? Guys, this question is also very popular in the exams. The examiner will ask you to explain the meaning of the break-even point. You will say the break-even point, it is a point whereby the income is equals to the expenditure. Or it is a point where a business is not making any income, a business is not making any loss. So that is that point, this point, that is your break-even point. Another possible question that you can expect from this section, you can be given a graph like this, and the two graphs are labeled A and B. So the examiner can ask you to name the graphs. Like, what is the name? What does this graph labeled A represent? What does the graph labeled B represent? What I want you guys to know is that the graph that starts at 0, 0, always, that is always going to be your income graph. It starts at 0, 0 because if you spend 0 amount, I mean, if you don't sell anything, if you sell 0 items, it means there's no money that's gonna come to you. So you don't sell anything, you don't get anything. That is why the income graph will always start at 0, 0. So the graph that starts here at 0, 0, that is your income graph. Whereas the other graph that starts any other place here on the dependent variables, in this case, it starts at 200. The graph that starts here at 200 will represent your expenditure graph or your expenses graph. What is the meaning of this 200? This 200, it means this business has a fixed expense. What could be the fixed expense? It could be a lot of things. The one thing that I'm trying to think of now, it is rent. Let's say this particular person is running a business and they are renting a place. When you are renting a place, whether you sold items that month, whether you did what, the landlord doesn't care. At the end of the month, they want their money for rent. So that is the only reason I could think of why this expenditure graph is starting at 200. It is because of the fixed expenditure. The fixed expenditure of how much? Of 200 rents. So that is why your graph that starts right in the middle of somewhere there will always be your expenses graph. So guys, if you get a question like this in the exam, I want you guys to take this 4 marks. Normally, it will be 2 marks for labeling A, 2 marks for labeling B. Or, like I said, now that we've labeled our graphs, we know our income, we know our expenses. We can tell now that the break-even point, we can explain it now to say that the break-even point, it is a point where the income and the expenses are the same. When you meet here, they are exactly the same. If income maybe was 400, the expense is also 400. It means this business is right at the equilibrium. There's no profit, there is no loss. And then the examiner can also ask how many items must be sold to break even. So this part of the graph here, this one, it is the number of items. So if you want to know how many items must be sold, you need to draw a line here, the line that crosses here on the break-even point. This number that we get here, that is the number of items that must be sold for this business to break even. Another possible question, the examiner can ask how many items must be bought for the business to start making profit. So those are two different questions. The other one says how many items must be bought to break even. The other one says how many items must be bought to make profit, to start making profit. So how do you answer that one? You look at your break-even point, and then you don't consider this value at the break-even point, but the next value after the break-even point, let's say if here it was 5, at break-even point is 5. So it means the next item that when it's bought, then this business will start making profit. So if it is 6 here, you will say 6 items. At least 6 items must be sold for this business to start making profit. So those are the possible scenarios. Those are the possible questions that you can get in the exams as far as the section of break-even analysis is concerned. So guys, what I just did now, labeling the graphs, explaining the income graph, the expenditure graph, where is the break-even point, explaining the break-even point, all that thing that I just did now, it is called the break-even analysis. So what we just did now, we did the break-even analysis. Now, here are our possible exam questions. And this one, colleagues, it was in your June exam paper. Remember, all of you wrote a June provincial paper. So I'm sure all of you are familiar with this question. So it was from your paper 1. Number 1, an item which cost 380 was reduced by 18.25% for Black Friday sales on the 26th of November 2021. So what we are going to do, they say it was reduced. So the key word there is to reduce. To reduce means to bring down. So it means this item was on sale. So A, write 18.25% as a common fraction in its simplest form. So when you write as a common fraction, guys, we know, we've learned this from grade 10, that when we talk about percentage, we are talking out of 100. So I'm going to write this as a percentage to say this is 18.25, and I know that percentage means out of 100. So that is the fractional form. So they said in the simplest form. I'm not going to panic because I've got my Casio calculator. I hope you guys are also having your calculator that side that is user friendly, that is going to save your life in the exams. So I'm going to punch in 18.25 divided by 100. The answer that I'm getting on the phone then, I am getting 73 over 400. And it means it cannot be simplified any further. This is the simplest form. And guys, you didn't even have to think about this. You just punch it in your calculator and then it does the magic for you. That is where the 2 marks is coming from. B, calculate the price after the reduction. Remember, the original price was how much? It was 380. Now it has been reduced by what? By 18.25%. Remember, when it is the original price, it is actually 100%. But now they are reducing it. They are marking it down. So when they reduce it by 18.25%. So I'm going to say 100% minus 18.25, which is equals to 81.75%. So it means from the original price, a consumer is only going to pay 81.75% of the price. We are not done, guys. Now we want to know how much. We want to know how much exactly is 81.75% of the original price. So I'm going to take my 81.75. Percentage means out of 100, guys. So I'm going to say divided by 100 and then multiply it by the original price, which is 380. And then the answer is multiplied by 380. The answer is 310 and 65 cents. So this is the money that the consumer will pay on Black Friday after the price has been reduced. This is one way of doing it, guys. There is also a second method that we can explore. The second method, guys, that we can explore, you can first find the 18.25 of the original price. Let's start by doing that. It is 18,25 over 100 multiplied by the original amount, which is 318. So you'll say 318 multiplied by 18.25 divided by 100. The answer is 69 rand and 35 cents. What is this? This is the reduction. This is the discount. Reduction or the discount. Now we want to know the price, the cost price. The price now will be equals to, we take that original amount, 380 minus the discount, which is 69 rand and 35 cents. So I'm going to quickly punch it in on my calculator. The answer is 310 and 65 cents, which is exactly the same as what we got here in the first method. So you choose either method that works for you, you choose it. The most important skill that the examiner is trying to assess here, it is the skill of working with percentages and understanding the language of reduction, markups, and markdowns. The second question, number 2, this is also from your June exam paper 1. Infrastructure spending by 9 provincial governments during the 2018-2019 fiscal year shows an overall reduction in capital expenditure. The table below shows the details. So we've got the provinces. Western Cape, they spent about 9.7 of the budget. So it means they say is the overall reduction. So it was a positive reduction. For Mpumalanga, they spent 8% of the budget. And then you go to Northern Cape, it was negative 17.4 of the budget, right up until the last province, which was negative 18.7% of the budget. Now, A, we must determine the difference in capital expenditure between the province with the highest increase and the province with the highest decrease. Okay, this is correct. So we want the province with the highest increase. Which province has the, remember guys, you've got the negatives and the positives. So obviously a positive is higher than a negative. When you look at the highest increase, you look at between Western Cape and Mpumalanga, and I think Western Cape has the highest increase since it is 9.7. So for highest, I'm going to give it to Western Cape. And then my lowest, and then the lowest, we are going to focus on the negative numbers. And then guys, when it comes to the negative numbers, the one that looks bigger is actually your smallest value. So the bigger the number, the lower the value. If you have negative 100 and negative 10, negative 100 is actually way smaller than negative 10. I hope that makes sense. So if you're looking at these other provinces, when you want the smallest value, it's actually this one for Limpopo, the minus 19.2. So the lowest one, it is what I said, it is Limpopo. So we want the difference. And then remember in Mathematic, when you talk difference, we are talking subtraction. So what is the Western Cape value? It is 469 million minus, difference means we minus. We minus in the value from Limpopo, but the value from Limpopo is already negative. I'm not changing it. I'm writing it as it is, minus 447 million. And then I'm not going to panic with the double minus because I've got what? A calculator. So we say 469 minus, I punch in minus twice, exactly the way I wrote it, minus 447. And then the answer that I'm getting, it is 916 million. For 2 marks. And you didn't even have to think about it. So 1 mark for difference, 1 mark for the answer. Calculate the total for 9 provinces That is for the provincial capital expenditure in the previous fiscal year of 2018 and 2019. So they want you to calculate the total. When they talk about total, it means they want the sum of all the values here. So girls and boys, I'm going to give you exactly 1 minute to try this one on your own, and then when I come back, we will share our solutions, and then you can give yourself a high five if you've got everything correct. We'll be back soon. Welcome back, my people. I hope you are ready with the solution now. So we were busy calculating what the total for the 9 provinces. So I'm going to start with the Western Cape. It is 469 million plus, I'm saying plus because Mpumalanga is positive, plus 300 from Mpumalanga. And then when it comes to Northern Cape is negative. So I'm going to write minus 265 million, and then Free State negative minus 277 million, Eastern Cape negative minus 326, Gauteng negative minus 390, Limpopo negative minus 447, KZN negative minus 458 meters, not meters, million. It's million. And then lastly, Northwest negative is minus 486 million. Now we're not gonna stress, we take out the calculator. Guys, please be careful with the signs. It is 469 plus 300 minus 265 minus 277 minus 326 minus 390 minus 447 minus 458 minus 486, and then the correct answer that I'm getting then, it's minus 1880. But remember, this one is what it is in millions. So the skill that you are being assessed on here is just the skill of being able to work with positive and negative numbers. Remember, you did this way in grade 10. So for 2 marks, the first mark is for the sum, and then the second mark is for the correct answer. And don't forget to include your units, because if it's just 1180, I will read it as 1180 rands. So you must include the units. Very important. Mr. Boss works at the car washing site. He is contracted to wash cars at a normal rate of 25 rands per hour. He gets paid 1.5 times his normal wage on weekends for the hours that he has worked. So Mr. Boss, we are told that here he works at a car wash. So on normal days during the week it means it's Monday to Friday, he earns 25 rand per hour. So it means if he works 5 hours for that day, he will be paid 25 rands multiplied by 5 hours. If he works 10 hours, he will be paid 10 hours multiplied by 25 rands. I hope it makes sense, guys. So, but on weekends, because it's a busy day, it's a busy time, he gets paid 1.5 times his normal wage, which is more than what he normally gets during the week. So here is a question. We must calculate the wage rate per hour on weekends. So first of all, guys, for on weekends, they said is 1.5 times what he normally gets during the week. So 1.5, guys, when you have 1.5, a half is the same as 0, 5. Let me write it here. That a half is the same as 0, 5. That's a half. So if I don't want to work with fractions, they irritate me. So I'm going to change this into a decimal to say this is 1, 5. The 5, it is this half, because I said a half is the same as 0, 5. So now I want to know the rate. I will take the 25 rands multiply by 1, 5 to see how much does he actually earn on weekends per hour. He earns 37 rand 50 cents. So it means if it is weekend, during the week they pay him 25 rands per hour, but over the weekend they are paying him 37 rand 50 cents per hour. B, boss worked 6 hours on Friday, the 27th of May 2022, and on Saturday, the 28th of May 2022, he worked 4 hours. Calculate the money earned for these 2 days. Remember, for during the week, let's say for Friday, let me just do it here. Rate for Friday, it is 25 rands per hour. And then this side, let me say rate for Saturday. We calculated in the previous slide, guys, and then you said it was 37 rand and 50 cents. So for Friday, they said he worked for how many hours? For 6 hours. So we'll then say 25 rand multiplied by 6 hours, which is equals to our calculator, 25 multiplied by 6, 150. That is the money that he will get on a Friday. Now let's check on Saturday. For Saturday, they said he worked how many hours? 4 hours. So we'll say 37 rand 50 multiplied by 4 hours, which is equals to 37 rand 50 multiplied by 4. It is 150. So they want us to calculate the money that he earned for the 2 days, meaning we want the total money that was earned. It would be 150 plus 150, which will give us a total of how much? Of 300 rands. And then this question, guys, it was in your June exam paper 1, and it was worth 3 marks. So we'll give 1 mark for the 150 here, 1 mark for this 150, and 1 mark for the final answer. I hope you guys can pick up your mistakes where you went wrong. And then the second one, still from your question paper, Tony sells biscuits at school for 15 rand per packet. He rents a small store at school for 200 rand per week and buys biscuits in bulk at a cost of 5 rand per packet. He formulated income and expenses equations and drew graphs to assist him determine the break-even point for his business. The expenses are 200 rands plus 5 multiplied by n, where n represents the number of biscuits. And then the income is 15 rands multiplied by n, where n represents the number of biscuits. Guys, Mathematic is just like English. Mathematic is a comprehension. You read the comprehension, you understand it, you comprehend, and then only then you can go and answer the questions, because they've given us so much information here. And then whatever questions they're going to ask us is going to be based on this lot of information that is given to us. Let us break this down. So he sells biscuits. By selling, it means he receives what? An income. So how much will be the income? Because he sells biscuit for 15 rands. So if you were to calculate his income, You will say income is 15 rand multiplied by N. What is N? The number of biscuits that he sells. If he sells 10 biscuits, then you are going to say 15 rands multiplied by 10 biscuits to get an answer, which is about 150. And then they say he rents a small store at school. The fact that he is renting, I know that it means that is his expense because he has to pay for that rental amount. And then not just any expense. This type of an expense, it is a fixed expense. It doesn't change. Whether that month he sold biscuits or not, he must pay. He must pay that 200 rand. So that is why that 200 rands becomes his fixed expense. And he buys the biscuits in bulk at the cost of 5 rand per packet. Remember, he's selling these biscuits, and for him to sell them, it means he needs to get them somewhere. So fortunately, he's not baking them himself. It means he's getting them from some bakery. So that bakery is selling them to him for 5 rands. So if I were to come up with a formula to represent the expenses here, I would say the fixed amount. So the expense, I would say the fixed amount of how much? Of 200 rand plus. With the fixed amount on the formula, it will always be 200 rand plus. Because this one, the fixed amount, we don't want to touch it. It doesn't change. It stays exactly the same. So it is 200 rand plus. They are selling the biscuit for 500 rand per pack. I mean, he bought the biscuits for 500 per pack multiplied by N, which is the number of biscuits. So if I wanted to know how much he would spend if he bought 10 biscuits, I would say 200 rand plus 5 rands multiplied by 10. And then that will give me, it's a 5 times 10, it will be what? It will be 50 plus 200 means the expenditure for that particular time would be 250. So if you look at our formulas, this is the formula for income. It is exactly the same as the one that he has formulated. And then the formula for expenses, it is exactly the same as this one that he has formulated. Now, let's look at the graph because he also represented the information on the graph. This side of the graph, we've got the income in rands. There is our income from 0 up to 700. And then here, we've got the number of biscuit packets. And then it's from 0 up to 45 biscuits. We've got two graphs there. There is the income and the expenses graph. Let's start analyzing the income graph. The income graph starts at 0, 0, like I said. Why does it start at 0? Because if he's not selling any biscuits, he is not going to get any money. No sale, no money. Hence, the graph starts where at 0, 0. If he sells, we are looking at the income graph. If he sells 10 biscuits, 10 biscuits is exactly here between 10 and 200. So it means if he sells 10 biscuits, it's going to be exactly 150. If he decides to sell 20 biscuits, he's going to get how much? 300 rands. Let's look at our expenses graph. This is our expenses graph, the black one. With the expenses graph, the graph is not starting at 0, but it is starting where at 200. And what does it mean again when the graph starts here at 200? It means for this particular business, there is a fixed expense of 200 rands. And then luckily, that fixed expense, we know it comes from what? Because they told us that he is paying rent where he is running his business. So this 200 rand is for his rental payment. That is why the expenses graph now starts there at 200. And then, guys, if we look at our graph then, let's look at the number of biscuits packet, the 20 biscuits. If he sells 20 biscuits, that is where he'll be at the break-even point. Because that is where the income and the expenses are the same. The income for 20 biscuits, it is 300, and the expenses for 20 biscuits is also 300. That is why we are saying this is the break-even point. If you look at this part of the graph, this is the part of the graph whereby this business is making a loss. It's making a loss because the expenses of this business are more than the income of this business. The income is way low and the expenses are already high. They're right above 200 rand. So this business here, it is running at a loss. And then at break-even point, this is the break-even point. Let me say break-even point. And then after the break-even point, look at this one now. Look at this point. This is the part where the business is making profit. Why am I saying profit? Because now the income graph is now above the expenses. It means the money now that is coming to this person is more than the money that he spends. So the possible questions, like I said, that we can expect, they can ask you in this case, how many biscuits must be sold for this business to break even? The biscuits that must be sold to break even, it is 20 biscuits. Another question, how many biscuits must be sold to start making profit? How many biscuits must be sold to start making profit? You look at the next value after the break-even point, the next value. Here, our break-even point is exactly at 20 biscuits. So after 20, what must come? 21. So it means the minimum number of biscuits that must be sold to start making profit, it is 21 biscuits. Because immediately, exactly at 21 biscuits, that is when now this business will start making profit. We haven't answered any questions. I was reading the comprehension that is given to me. I was analyzing it. I'm preparing for war. Now that I'm ready, I've trained, I've got my guns, everything is ready, I can go for war. Let's go to war. A, use the graph to determine the value of the dependent variable or variables at the break-even point. Sure, now is something that we didn't expect to see. The dependent variable. What are the dependent variables? You did this again in grade 10 and 11 in the section of patterns and relationships. Your dependent variables are always the variables that are on your horizontal axis. So those ones, I'm sorry, on your vertical axis. These ones on the vertical are always your dependent. And then these ones on your horizontal are always your independent. What does it mean when they say these values are dependent? It means for this item to take place, it actually depends on this item. And what is this item for us? It is the income or the cost. So the amount of income that you are going to get, it depends on the number of biscuits that you are going to sell. The amount that you are going to spend on the business, it will depend on the number of biscuits that you want to pay. That is why I'm saying this one is the dependent variable, whereas the number of biscuits, guys, the number of biscuits, it is the independent variable. Because the number of biscuits that you are selling is not depending on the income that you must get. You must first sell the biscuits and then get the income. So when we talk about the dependent variable, we are talking about this section. So what are they saying here? Use the graph to determine the dependent variables at the break-even point. Where is the break-even point, guys? Again, this is our break-even point. So when you write the coordinates here, it is always the independent first, and then it is the dependent. So at this point, what is our independent? It is what it is, 20. And then what is our dependent variable? It is what it is also, it is what it is, 300. So the value of the dependent variable at the break-even point, it is how much? It is 300 rands. Because this at this point here of the graph, the dependent, remember these are the dependent variables, the value of the dependent variables is 300 rands. B, use the graph or otherwise to determine the profit made in a week, given the sales indicated below. Friday was a holiday and there was no school day. So guys, we are going to use the graph, or otherwise, when they mean otherwise, I'm assuming that they're talking about those formulas that we formulated to determine the profit made in a week. Before we can get profit, guys, we must first determine our selling price and our cost price. So the number of packet of biscuits that are sold, let's get the total number that was sold for the week. It is 5 on Monday, plus 10 on a Tuesday, plus 7 on a Wednesday, lastly plus 15 on a Thursday. So let's do this. It's 5 plus 10 plus 7 plus 15. So the total number of biscuits sold, it was 37 rands. So if I want to know the income for selling 37 biscuits, I will say my income. I'm going to use the formula, guys, because I want to be accurate. So I rewrote the formula in the previous slide. The formula, I said for income, it is 15 multiplied by n. And then whereby I said n represents what? The number of biscuits. So it is 15 rands multiplied by n. And then I said n represents what? The number of biscuits. And how many biscuits are sold? It is 37. Sorry, it's 15 rands here, not 5 rands. So 15 multiplied by 37. The answer is 555. So now I want the expenses. I know that with the expenses, I have a fixed income of 200 plus his cost price there. It is 5 rand multiplied by the number of biscuits. So let's substitute now. It is 200 plus 500 times. How many biscuits are we talking here? We are talking 37 biscuits. So which is equals to, it is 200 plus 5 multiplied by 37. So the total expenditure here, it is, doesn't make sense. It's 200 plus 5 times 37. Let me say first 5 times 37. That is the answer. Plus 200. It is 385. Oh, no, it's okay. 385. Now we have to calculate what? The profit. What is the formula for profit again, guys? I said when I started that profit is equals to income minus your expenditure. And then we've already calculated our income. It is 555 minus our expenditure, 385. So the total then is 555 minus 385. It's 170. So the profit that was made for that particular week was 170. I hope you guys are still able to follow through. I hope you understand. This is a very nice and interesting section. And it's more like it's an underdog type of a topic. We never really plan or stress about it. But I've seen in most of the recent papers, the examiners are actually having a field day when it comes to this section of income and expenditure, your selling price, cost price, and your break-even analysis. So it's a very intense, nice, and it's a doable topic, guys. It's a doable topic. So if you can really prepare on this section, I think we might be able to collect as many marks as possible under paper 1. Now this one, guys, it's from the supplementary paper. Remember, there are learners that decided to rewrite their matric this year in June. So this question is extracted from the paper that they said and wrote. So here, what is our context? They say Yvette runs a small business from home. She makes and sells lunch packs for learners and delivers them to school during their lunch break. Table 1 shows items per lunch pack and the respective cost prices. So here is our table 1. This is the cost price of the items. Remember, she's running a business. So she is selling these items to her customers. But before she can even sell them, she needs to go and buy them somewhere. So the price that she pays to buy them somewhere, that the terminology for that, we say it is a cost price. So she buys, the first item that she buys, it is juice. It is 100% fruit juice. And there's 24 of them in a box. When she buys 24, she pays how much? 135. And then here we have item cost per lunch pack. So remember, she buys these things and then she packs them in lunch packs. She packs lunch packs for school going children. So in a lunch pack of a child, she only packs in one juice. And then the cost price of one juice, it is 563. So I'm wondering, how did she get to this, that the cost price of one juice is 5.63? So let's try this. I'm going to take this 135 because they said there's 24 in a pack. And then I'm going to divide it by 24. I want to see how much I will get. 135 divided by 24. I'm getting 5,625. 625. Because it's money, it is 5.63. So it means that is how she determined the cost price of one box of juice. Let us check the next item. The next item, it is a loaf of bread. A loaf of bread costs how much? 13.99. And it's got how many slices inside? It's got 18 usable slices. She's saying usable, I'm assuming, because she's not going to use the top part and the bottom part. She'll just use the middle layers of the bread. And then in a lunchbox, she will pack only 2 slices. And then her cost price, she says her cost price for the 2 slices is R1.55. So let's also check, how did she get to the R1.55? So I'm going to say 13.99 divided by 18 slices. So let's do this. 13.99 divided by 18. It is 0.77 something. But remember, this is for one slice. But here she packs how many slices? 2 slices. So you can say that 0.7 times 2. I'm just going to punch answer and say times 2 here. And then I will get R1.55. So I think that is how she got to the price of R1.55 per lunch tin for the 2 slices of bread. And then there is cheese slices. The cheese slices, guys, it is R84.99 for 54 slices per pack. And then she only uses 1 slice of cheese. And then how much does she spend? R1.57. So how did she get to this R1.57? She said 84.99 divided by how many slices? 54 slices. So let's see. We will say 84.99 divided by 54. The answer is 1.57. 157. So that is how she got the cost price of 1 slice of cheese. Guys, we can do this for all the items on this list, but I'm not gonna continue. I just wanted us to see how they determined each value, and that is exactly what you do in the exams. If you are given a table with the values, you first do the calculations. Check first with your calculator how each value on the table or on the advert was determined, because one way or the other there will be a question whereby you are asked to show how a certain value was calculated. So if you've already done this, when such a question comes, you just sail through it because you are prepared. Remember, I always say we are soldiers, we are preparing for war. The moment you say let's go, it is on, it means we are prepared, we are ready. So first question, show how the cost of 1 yogurt was calculated. You see what I was talking about? So let's go to the yogurt. This is the section of yogurts. And then the yogurt is R10.99, a pack of 6. And then they say the cost of 1 yogurt is R1.83. So what are you gonna do? We're gonna do the same thing that we were doing in the previous slides for these items. We are gonna say R10.99 divided by how many in a pack? There is 6. There is 6, which is equals to, so we say R10.99 divided by 6. The answer is 1 Rand and 83 cents, 1.83. 3. So this is how the 183 was calculated. Very important. This is how we mark this question. The 183, we're not going to give you a mark for that. It is already there. It's there. We told you that the answer will be 1 rand 83 cents. So you will get a mark for 10 rand 99. You will also get a mark for A6. B, determine the maximum number of apples per bag. The maximum number of apples per bag. So let's come. Here is the apples. So apples per bag. But we know that the price of one apple is 2 rand 87 cents. So we'll take the 22 rand 99 and then we'll divide it by 2 rand 87. And then let's do our calculations. 22 rand 99 divided by 2 rand 87 cents. The answer would be 8,01045 blah 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 blah. Remember, now in this question we want the number of apples that can fit in, the maximum. Guys, it means you cannot have 8 comma something number of apples, and because you are going to pack these apples in a certain container, you are going to have to round down here to say 8 apples will be in a bag. 8 apples will be in a bag. Why am I rounding down? If I round up and say 9, the 9th, if you're going to force a 9th apple in the pack, it means now that pack will not be able to close because you forced in a 9th apple, whereas that bag is only designed to carry about 8 apples of that particular size. So that is why I'm rounding it down to what? To 8 apples. C, we must show that the total cost to make one lunch pack is 18 rand 36 cents. Remember, these are the items that she will be using to make one lunch pack. So what we need to do here, we must add all these items and see that if it will give us the same answer as this one. Let's do this. I hope you guys are also busy that side with your calculators and your quick fingers. So it is 5 rand 63 plus 1 rand 55 cents plus 1 rand 57 plus 2 rand 87 plus 1 rand 83 plus 3 rand 54 plus 1 rand 37. So now we're going to take out our calculators and do the addition. So it's 5 rand 63 plus 1 rand 55 plus 1 rand 57 plus 2 rand 87 plus 1 rand 83 plus 3 rand 54 plus 1 rand 37 cents. So the answer that I'm getting here, I'm getting 18 rand 36 cents. So this question was also for 2 marks, guys. Again here, they've already told you that you must show that the total is 18 rand 36 cents. It is given to you, so you will not be awarded for that. So you will get 2 marks for addition. Just for adding all the values, you got your 2 marks, but you won't get a mark for this because it was already given to you. And then D, the profit Yvette makes per lunch pack is 16 rand 64 cents. For how many lunch packs? For 1 lunch pack. Calculate the selling price of 1 lunch pack. Guys, when you talk about selling price, we also have the cost price here, and now we have a profit. There's actually a formula when calculating profit. The formula says profit is equals to the selling price minus the cost price. I emphasized this when I started my lesson. So in this case, we've got the value of the profit. They say the profit is equals to 16 rand 64 cents. The selling price, we don't have it. We must we must look for it. And what about the cost price? The cost price per lunchbox, we already calculated this in the previous slide. And then we said the, so the total cost price of lunchbox is 18 Rand 36 cents. So the cost price, it is 18 Rand and 36 cents. So the only thing that is missing is the selling price. So I'm going to substitute all these values into the formula. Where I see profit, I'm going to write 16 Rand and 64 equals to, I don't have the selling price, so I'll just write selling price minus, what is the cost price? It is 18 Rand and 36 cents. We want the selling price, so I'm just going to write the selling price this side, selling price, and then I'm going to keep this profit amount of 16 Rand and 64, but then the 18 Rand and 36 is negative because of this negative sign. When it goes to that side, it's going to change and become positive 18 36. So now I want the selling price. The selling price is going to be profit plus the cost price. So it is 16 Rand 64 plus the 18 Rand, 1836 plus 1664. So the answer is 35 rands. So the selling price, it is how much? It is 35 rands. That is the selling price of a lunchbox. When she sells it to her people, she sells it for 35 rands. Her cost price was how much? Was 18 Rand 36. And then she's finally making a profit of how much? Of 16 Rand 64 cents, which I think is very fair, because if we remember, guys, the main aim, the main purpose of running a business is so that we can make profit. And it mustn't be a crazy and abnormal profit. It must just be something that is, yet your customers will be able to support you. So now, this one, we must define the term profit in the given context. I'm sure most of us, we understand what is meant by profit, but now we need to explain the profit in this given context. It is the context of who we are talking about, Yvette. It is the context of Yvette. So if you guys were to explain profit, you'd normally say profit is the selling price minus the cost price. But because we are talking about Yvette, we are going to say profit, it is the money that Yvette will get after subtracting the cost from the selling price. I think that is just what we must say. Let me write it down. To say profit is the money that Yvette, because they said in this context, will get after subtracting cost from selling price. So that is how you will explain profit in the given context. Normally when they say explain a certain word in the given context, so you must look at the story, the comprehension that was given to you. So when you explain it in relation to the context that was given to you. For 2 marks, we always get 2 marks for explaining the terminologies. So girls and boys, make sure that you study, you read all the terminologies for all the topics, because all those terminologies are examinable. You are going to get a question paper, paper 1, question 1, 1.1.1, explain a selling price. If you didn't study that, you are going to lose out on that 2 marks, which I feel that is 2 marks for free. So the next question now, we must write down as a simplified ratio, the bulk price of 100% fruit juice to the bulk price of sweets. When it comes to ratio, guys, takes you back to grade 10. When it comes to ratio, the order in which the ratio is written is very, very important. And you will always be guided by the question. The examiner will always guide you how they want you to write that ratio. So here, they started with the 100% fruit juice. So it means your ratio would be fruit juice is to what? Sweets. So what do we want? We want the bulk price. So what is the bulk price of fruit juice? It is 135. What is the bulk price of sweets? It is 85 rands. So they said it must be in the simplest form. So what we can do, a ratio can be written as a fraction. So 135 is to 85. You can just punch in your calculator, 135 divided by 85. So I'm going to say 135 divided by, let me write it here so that you don't get confused. 135 divided by 85 rand. Divided by 85, and then I'm going to get 27 over 17. Which then the correct answer now is, because a ratio can also be written as a fraction, it is 27 is to 17. That is the answer, because cannot be simplified any further, unless if they had said it's a unit ratio, then you'll want to leave it as 1 is to something. And this question is for how much? For 3 marks. So I think the first mark would be for writing in the correct order. The second mark, okay, for sweets, and then for fruit juice, then the final mark would be for the simplified answer. That is why it's for 3 marks. Bongiwe has twins. Her twins are Sandile and Sakile, who attend a private school. The total fees payable per child for the school year is from January to November, is as follows. So all the fees, these fees are per child. And then the school year from January to November, guys, is January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, which is how many months? It means we are talking 11 months. The charges for aftercare are 7,700 per school year, or 700 rand monthly. Remember, this is per child. So because she has 2 children, it means we must say this amount multiplied by 2. The first child's school fee is 2,793 per month, or 30,723 per school year. This is for one child. And then a 10% discount on school fees is given to a second child. So it means that for the second child, we are going to take this amount. That second child would only pay 90% of this, because they are already given a discount of 10%. A further 7.5% discount is given if school fees are paid in full by the 31st of January. This is a system that is used by most of the institutions to encourage the person to pay on time school fees, to encourage the parents to pay on time. They normally have that special discount that if the school fees is paid in full by Feb, or if the school fees is paid in full by March, or in this case by January, then you get a special discount. And in this case, the discount is 7.5%. The monthly transport cost is 929. But remember, this is for one child. So because there's 2 children, we have to multiply by 2. Remember what I said, that Mathlit, they will give us a story, a comprehension. So now we are reading our story, we are comprehending it, and then we are analyzing it to see if we understand, because the questions that are going to be asked are going to need this story. Like English, when you are given a comprehension and then you go to you cannot answer the questions from a blank head. You need to constantly refer back to the comprehension to look for the answers that are asked there. So A, calculate the total transport cost for the twins for a full school year. Remember our school year, we said it has how many months? It has 11 months. And then the monthly transport, it is 929 multiplied by, because it's the twins, multiplied by 2 children This is for the month. For how many months now, guys? Because they said for the school year, multiply by 11 months, which is equals to, I'm gonna say 9 through 9, multiply by 2 children, multiply by 11 months. So for transport alone, Bongiwe is spending 20,438. Sorry, 20, not true, man. 20,438. That is the money that she spends on transport alone in a full school year. And our full school year here is what it is, 11 months. And then, okay, I'm just going to write here, guys, just so that I don't lose my information. Remember, for transport, we said she's going to spend 20,438. That is the transport money. We've already done it. So now, Bongiwe intends on paying the school fees in full on the 30th of January. Remember, if the school fees is paid in full by the 31st of January, then there is a special discount here. If it's paid by the 31st, then there's a discount of how much? Of 7.5%. So she's paying on the 30th. It means she's already going to get a discount of how much? Of 7.5%. Now, you need to determine the total amount of money that Bongiwe will spend in one school year for the twins to attend the private school, including aftercare and transport. So I'm going to note my things here on the side that, okay, this is for transport. We are happy with that. The other part is the aftercare. Let's now do the calculations for aftercare. For aftercare, it is 7,700 per school year or 700 monthly. So we want the total amount for a school year. So we'll take the 7,700, but remember this is for one child, so we will multiply it by 2 to give us, we'll say 7,700 multiplied by 2. It will give us 15,400. 15,400. So this is the amount of aftercare that will be paid in one school year. So the first child's school fee is 2,793 per month, or 30,723 per school year. So let me calculate the school fees for the first child. School fee for child 1. Let's do for child 1. They said for the year it's how much? It is 30,723. But because she paid earlier, she gets a discount of 7.5%, meaning she's only going to pay how much? I'm going to say 100%, which is the original amount, minus 7.5% is equals to 100 minus 7.5, 92.5. She's only going to pay 92.5% of the school fees. So I'm going to take this amount and multiply by 92.5% to get the amount that she will actually pay. Multiplied by 30,723, which is equals to 28,000. This is the money that she will pay for child 1. 28,418 and 78 cents. This is the school fees for child number 1. When we go to child number 2, remember for child number 2, there is a 10% discount on the school fees. So child number 2 is going to pay this amount, but on this amount is going to be 28,418 and 78, but there's going to be an additional 10% that is granted. So if the discount of 10% is given, how much will you actually pay? The original price is 100%, so minus the 10%, it means she must actually pay how much? 90%. So for child number 2 is that amount multiplied by 90%, which is equals to it is equal for child number 2. She will pay 25,576 and 90 cents. That is the school fees for child number 2. So if you want the total money now that Bongiwe will pay, we will say for total, we'll start with what? Let's start with transport plus aftercare plus school fees. So let us substitute. Our transport is here. We said it was 20,438 plus aftercare is 15,400 plus the school fees for child number 1 is 28,418 and 78 plus the school fees for child number 2, it is 25,576 and 90. Remember, the school fees is not the same because if you are having the second child in the school, you qualify for a special discount. That is why our school fees is not the same for the 2 kids. Plus 28,418,78 plus 15,400 plus 20,438. The answer that we are getting, the total amount that Bongiwe will spend in one school year, it is 89,833 and 68 cents. This was a very long question. For 8 marks, it's a higher order type of a question. This type of a question, we call it a level 3 type of a question because it's got multiple steps. This one, it really wants you to try and think out of the box and be creative. And unfortunately, there's no formula for doing this one. You need to think about it. It needs to make sense because you could have been in this situation. Let's say you're working at a school, you are an admin clerk. I don't think they even teach you this at college. You need to apply your knowledge, know what to do, what is that you are supposed to do. You are given information, you are given comprehension. You use that information, you use that comprehension to help you think and come up with a sensible solution. So this is how our 8 marks will be allocated in all these steps. And because of space, I am not going to show you the mark allocation because it's going to be so untidy. You won't even be able to see what is what here. But I hope you enjoyed this one. This one was a bit of a brain cracker. I enjoyed doing it. I hope you guys will also enjoy it. If it means that you watch this video over and over and over again until you get it, please do so because it was a very interesting question. Now, we've got this one. It was adapted from a 2015 Gauteng Province prelim. It was in paper 1. Robert and Mary go shopping for matching rings. They decide to purchase a set of rings that cost 6,000 rands. The jewelry shop bought that set of cost rings at a cost price of 3,495. So guys, Robert and Mary, they went to a jewelry shop and then they spent 6,000 rands on the rings. So this shop, it bought this set of rings at a cost price of how much? Of 3,495. It means for the shop, the cost price was 3,495. Whereas their selling price was how much? It was 6,000. That is the information for the shop. Now, what is the question? We need to calculate the profit the shop will make on the sale of the set of rings. And what is profit again, guys? We all agree that profit is equals to the selling price minus the cost price. And then if the answer is positive, then the business is making a profit. But if the answer is negative, then the business is running at a loss. Let us do our substitution and see if these people are making a profit or a loss. The selling price is 6,000 again here. 6,000 minus the cost price, it is 3,495. And then let's do the math now. 6,000 minus 3,495 it is 2,505. 2,505. So this is the profit that this jewelry shop made from the sale of the set of rings to Robert and Mary. B, calculate the percentage profit the jewelry shop will make. Now we want the percentage what? Profit. And then we know from the previous question that we said that what is profit? We said profit is selling price minus your cost price. So now that we want our percentage profit, I'm going to say, okay, selling price minus the cost price all over the selling price. This is how you determine the percentage profit. And then because they spoke about percentage, I must multiply by 100. Now let us substitute. Selling price is a 6,000 minus the cost price is 3,495 all over the selling price of 6,000 multiplied by what? By 100. Guys, if you look at this, 3,495 is more than half of 6,000. So half of 6,000 is 3,000. If it was 3,000, we would know that the percentage profit would be 50%. But this one is slightly above 50%. So it means we're expecting the percentage profit to be around 50 something or even 60%. That is our estimation, our rough estimation. So I'm gonna say 6,000 minus 3,495 divided by 6,000 and then times that by 100. The answer there is, oh, we want the profit, I'm sorry, it's 41.75. This is the percentage profit that this company is going to make. So it is for 3 marks. The 1 mark for the answer, the 1 mark would be for the formula, 1 mark for substituting, and 1 mark for the answer, because it's not all the time that the examiner will give you a formula. Sometimes if the examiner is nice, they will give you a formula, but other times they will expect you to know this formula, because this is the section that we did, remember, when you're doing this part of the selling price, cost price, income, and expenditure. You did this in term 1. So make sure that you revise this section so that when you come across something like this in the exam, you are not shocked. Yo, what is this now? No, we don't want such reactions in the exam. We want you guys to have a smooth ride in the exam room. Robert and Mary are planning a wedding reception. They visited 2 venues and compared the quotations of the Da Vinci Hotel and Trejo Lodge and Conference Center. So the quotations from the 2 venues are as follows. The first one, the Da Vinci Hotel, it has a basic fee. A basic fee of how much? Of 8,000 rands. What is a basic fee? It's more like a fixed amount. It's more like a fixed amount. The fact that you are saying you are booking this place, you must already put aside 8,000. And then they're still going to charge you again for the people that you bring. They will charge you 200 rands per person that you are bringing. So if you're having a wedding and then you want to book the venue, they want the 8,000 before you even tell them how many people you are bringing. And then when it comes to the numbers, that is when now they'll tell you that, okay, if you're planning to bring people, we are now charging you 2,000 rands per person. And then the Trejo Lodge and Conference Center. This one, there is no basic fee. There is no basic fee, but they will start charging you if you start bringing in people. And how much are they charging? They are charging 275 rands per person. A, write down an equation to enable Robert and Mary to calculate the cost of hiring the Da Vinci Hotel. So this is the information that we are having about Da Vinci Hotel. Remember, there's a basic fee at Da Vinci. So there's a basic fee plus 200 rand multiplied by the number of people. So if we were to write an equation for Da Vinci, we would then now say cost for Da Vinci is equals to What is the basic fee again? 8,000. It would be 8,000 rands plus the basic fee, guys, the fixed amount will always be the amount plus 200 rands multiplied by n, whereby n represents what? The number of people. That is how you write an equation. So your equation, it must have only one unknown, which is in this case, it is n, the number of people. The mistake that you guys make in the exam, you always say basic fee plus 200 times the number of people. If they gave you the basic fee, you must include it in the equation, because when you do your calculations, you are always going to need your basic fee to help you with the calculations. The quotations from the two venues are as follows. Okay, we've already discussed this. Complete the table. So our table here, it is the cost for the Da Vinci Hotel and the cost for the lodge. The section of the lodge is completed, but for the Da Vinci Hotel, we've got these parts that are missing. And remember, we already have a formula for Da Vinci. Our formula for Da Vinci was 8,000 rand plus 200 rand multiplied by the number of people. Let's test if our formula is correct. I want us to check the cost maybe for, let's say, for 40 people. So if you want the cost for 40 people, you will say 8,000 rand plus 200 multiplied by 40. Let's see what is the answer. It is 8,000 rand plus 200 multiplied by 40. The answer is 16,000 rands, which is correct because at 40 people, Da Vinci is exactly 16,000. Now let's complete our table now for 100 people. For 100 people, we are going to say 8,000 rand plus 200 multiplied by 100, which is going to be 8,000 plus 200 multiplied by 100, which is going to be 28,000 rand. And then let's move on to the, okay, this one is 28,000. Let's move over to 120. For 120 is going to be 8,000 rand plus 200 multiplied by 100 is going to be 8,000 plus 200 multiplied by 100. It's going to give us 28,000. I'm sorry, man, I made a mistake. It's 8,000 plus 200 multiplied by 100. Or it's supposed to be 120 here. I'm sorry, I repeated that one. It's supposed to be 120. 120. The answer is 32,000. 32,000. And then so here for 120 is 32,000. Guys, if you look at this, there's actually a pattern. From here, it is 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 32, meaning the next one will be what? 36. The next one will be what? 40. Then it will be what? 44. And then it's going to be what? It's going to be 50. So these prices are increasing. They're increasing by what? By 4,000. But the most important skill that I wanted to instill for this particular question was the skill of formulating a formula and using a formula to help us find the unknown values in the given table, because such questions you are going to get in the exam. The examiner can give you the equation if they are nice, and then you can use that equation to find the missing values, or the examiner can expect you to come up with your own formula, and you must use your own formula to find the missing values on the table. Or they can even take it further and ask you to use the values on the table to help you draw a certain graph, whether it's an income or an expenses graph. Girls and boys, unfortunately, we have come to the end of our session for today. Please do join us again next time. Thank you so much.